What's the secret to making people notice you, admire you, and even obsess over you? It's not charm, it's not luck, and it's definitely not pretending to be someone you're not. The real secret is Stoicism. This ancient philosophy isn't about shutting down your emotions or faking calm. It's about building real power from the inside out. When you develop that kind of strength, people feel it. You don't have to say a word. They're drawn to your presence, your discipline, your peace. In this video, we're going to break down 6 Stoic secrets that will make people obsessed with you. Not because you're trying to impress them, but because you've become someone they can't ignore. These principles will not only help you attract respect and admiration, but also protect your energy, sharpen your focus, and elevate every relationship in your life. And before we begin, a small favor. If you find value in what we're sharing, please hit that subscribe button. It's completely free, and it helps spread this message to more people like you. And whatever you do, don't skip around. Every section in this video contains powerful insights you don't want to miss. Let's begin. Secret number 1. Master inner stillness. Why do some people walk into a room and instantly command attention without saying a word? It's not because they're loud, flashy, or trying to dominate the space. It's because they radiate a sense of inner stillness. And that stillness, that unshakable calm in the middle of life's chaos, is the first Stoic secret that makes others obsess over you. So what is inner stillness, and why is it so powerful? According to the Stoics, it's the ability to remain unmoved by the storms outside because you've tamed the storms within. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome and one of the greatest Stoic minds in history, wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." This wasn't just philosophy, it was survival. As a leader constantly surrounded by war, betrayal, and pressure, he knew that true strength was the ability to remain centered no matter what. In your own life, stillness doesn't mean passivity. It doesn't mean you never feel stress or anger. It means you don't let those emotions drive your actions. And when people see that in you, when they see someone who isn't triggered by every insult, who doesn't overreact when things go wrong, who keeps their cool when everyone else is losing their minds, they're drawn to you. Why? Because you become a mirror for what they wish they had inside themselves. Think about it. Most people today are overstimulated, reactive, and anxious. Social media trains us to constantly compare ourselves, always looking outside for validation. But when you cultivate stillness, you send a silent message. I don't need the chaos, I don't need the attention, I've found something deeper. And people become obsessed with that energy. Not because you're chasing them, but because you become someone worth chasing. Stillness also builds trust. In relationships, whether romantic, professional, or social, people want to feel safe around you. They want to know that you won't explode over small issues or fall apart under pressure. Your calm becomes their comfort. Your poise becomes their peace. And in a world where emotional volatility is common, your stability becomes rare, and rare is valuable. But how do you actually master inner stillness? The Stoics gave us the tools. First, they practiced what's called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. This means visualizing challenges before they happen, so you're not shocked when life gets hard. If you expect the storm, you don't panic when it arrives. Instead, you've already prepared your mind to stand firm. Second, they practiced journaling. Marcus Aurelius's Meditations wasn't written for an audience. It was his way of processing life, grounding himself, and holding his mind accountable. You can do the same. Start your mornings or evenings by writing down your thoughts, fears, and intentions. Clarity creates calm, and journaling clears the fog. Third, they embrace the idea that you cannot control the world, but you can control your response. Epictetus said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." This isn't just wise, it's empowering. It puts the focus back in your hands. You can't stop people from judging you or life from throwing challenges your way, but you can choose not to let those things disrupt your inner peace. Mastering stillness also requires saying no. No to distractions, no to constant stimulation, no to the urge to react instantly to everything. It's about building space between the stimulus and your response. That space is where your power lives. It's where your true identity forms, not the one that's always reacting, but the one that observes, reflects, and decides with intention. And here's the paradox. When you build this kind of stillness, people start leaning into your silence. They start wondering what's going on inside your mind. Your calm becomes mysterious. Your lack of reaction becomes a statement louder than any words. You begin to radiate something rare, something pure, self-mastery. That's why inner stillness is so attractive. It's not about being boring or emotionless. It's about being emotionally disciplined. It's about becoming the eye of the storm. When everyone else is overwhelmed by noise, you're the quiet presence that brings balance. When others spiral into fear or anger, you become the anchor they seek, and that's not just appealing, it's addictive. People become obsessed not with a version of you that's performing for their approval, but with the real you, the one who has nothing to prove, nothing to chase, and everything already within. So ask yourself, when the world shakes, do you shake with it, or do you stand still? When emotions flare, do you escalate, or do you pause, reflect, and choose wisely? Your ability to remain calm, steady, and present is more than just a virtue, it's a magnet. And in the end, it's not the loudest person who gets the most attention, it's the one who doesn't need any. That's the first Stoic secret. Master inner stillness. And they won't just notice you, they won't be able to stop thinking about you. Secret number 2. Become unshakably purpose-driven. What happens when you meet someone who knows exactly who they are, what they believe in, and where they're going? You feel it instantly. Their focus, their fire. It's contagious. That's the second Stoic secret to becoming someone people obsess over. Living with unshakable purpose, not wandering aimlessly, not being pushed and pulled by trends or opinions, but moving forward with clarity and direction. That's magnetic. But why is purpose so powerful? Because most people don't have it. They wake up each day without intention. They scroll, react, follow the crowd, and wonder why they feel empty. But when someone shows up with a mission, when you're grounded in something bigger than temporary pleasure, you automatically stand out. Your life begins to radiate a different kind of energy, and that energy pulls people in. Seneca, one of the most respected Stoic philosophers, said, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." In other words, without purpose, even the best opportunities in the world mean nothing. But with purpose, even the storms of life become fuel. You move differently. You speak with more conviction. You carry yourself with strength because you're anchored to something deeper. And here's the truth. People admire what they lack. When you become someone who lives with vision and refuses to waste time, you reflect back to others what they wish they had. Your discipline triggers both respect and curiosity. They'll want to know why you're so focused, why you seem unaffected by drama, why you're not chasing every shiny object like everyone else. And the answer is simple. Your life is aligned with your purpose. That's rare, and rare is irresistible. But how do you find and live that purpose? The Stoics believed it starts by understanding your unique role in the world. They taught that we are all threads in the fabric of something larger, society, nature, the universe. And our job is not to live selfishly, but to fulfill our duty with excellence. Your purpose isn't always some grand dream. It might be serving others, creating beauty, teaching wisdom, protecting what's right. Whatever it is, once you find it, you must commit to it with everything you have. And that commitment brings clarity. When you know your purpose, you stop wasting energy on things that don't matter. You stop chasing approval. You start saying no to distractions and yes to growth. Your priorities shift. Your time becomes sacred. And that kind of intentional living is incredibly attractive. It shows that your value isn't tied to fleeting opinions. It's tied to your mission. Living with purpose also changes how you handle failure. When you know what you're working toward, setbacks don't destroy you, they refine you. You become like a sculptor chipping away at the unnecessary. Every mistake, every challenge becomes part of your story. And people love that. They love watching someone who doesn't quit, who keeps showing up, who grows in silence and lets their progress speak for itself. Now think about relationships. Most people chase attention, hoping to feel important. But the Stoic doesn't chase. They attract by becoming someone worth joining. When your life is on a mission, people want to be part of it. They see your fire, your direction, and they want to walk beside you. And here's the irony. When you stop trying to impress others, you become impressive. When you stop needing validation, you become someone others want to validate. Purpose also gives you emotional stability. It becomes your compass. When people doubt you, criticize you, or misunderstand you, your purpose keeps you grounded. You don't crumble, because your life isn't built on approval. It's built on something much deeper. That steadiness is rare, and people are drawn to it because it makes them feel safe. It makes them trust you. And trust is the foundation of obsession. But here's the key. Your purpose must come from within. It can't be about proving others wrong or chasing applause. That kind of motivation burns out fast. True Stoic purpose is rooted in virtue, in becoming the best version of yourself for the sake of others and the world. It's about excellence, service, and self-mastery. And when you live from that space, everything about you becomes more compelling. So ask yourself, what are you waking up for? What are you building? Are you spending your life reacting to other people's expectations, or are you moving with intention toward something meaningful? Because the truth is, people don't obsess over those who try to be liked. They obsess over those who live with such unwavering clarity that they don't need to be liked. They respect the one who knows where they're going, the one who refuses to be swayed by every passing emotion or trend, the one who walks with purpose, not to impress, but to fulfill something higher. That's the second Stoic secret. Become unshakably purpose-driven. And watch how others become drawn to your fire, your focus, and your mission. Secret number 3, detach from outcome, command attention. Why do we try so hard to control things we can't? Why do we chase after attention, outcomes, or people, only to feel more anxious, more insecure, and less respected? Here's the truth the Stoics understood long before the age of social media. The more you chase something, the more power you give it over you. And the more you let go of needing it, the more it starts to come to you naturally. That's the third Stoic secret. Detachment from outcome. It's one of the most misunderstood ideas in life. People think detachment means not caring, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Detachment doesn't mean apathy, it means freedom. It means you do everything you can, you give your best effort, you live with purpose, but you release the need for things to go your way. You let go of trying to control how people see you, how fast success comes, or how someone responds to your energy. And guess what? That's exactly when people start to notice you. Because detachment creates confidence. It shows you're not desperate. You're not performing for validation. You're not waiting on someone else's reaction to feel worthy. That kind of self-possession is rare, and people become obsessed with it because it feels strong, grounded, and independent. Epictetus, the great Stoic teacher, said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." He wasn't telling us to be passive. He was showing us the only path to real power. When you're attached to outcomes, your energy becomes reactive. You overthink. You second-guess yourself. You base your worth on whether or not someone praises you, stays with you, agrees with you. That mindset weakens your presence. But detachment? That changes everything. When you detach from needing results, you become incredibly present. You're no longer living in the future, obsessing over what might happen or how someone might respond. You're fully rooted in the moment. And presence is magnetic. People feel it. They feel your peace, your focus, your lack of neediness, and they lean in. This also applies in relationships. When you're overly attached to how someone feels about you, you start contorting yourself. You try too hard. You say things just to be liked. You become less authentic, less bold, and less powerful. But when you're detached, not from love, but from outcome, you can show up fully without fear. You speak honestly, you act with integrity. And ironically, that's what makes people trust you more, want you more, obsess over you more. Detachment also helps you recover faster. If something doesn't go your way, a rejection, a loss, a delay, you don't crumble. Because you weren't living for that result in the first place. You were living for your principles. You were guided by your values, not by the approval of others. That steadiness makes you emotionally untouchable, and that is incredibly attractive. Not because you're cold, but because you're in control. The Stoics teach us to focus on effort, not outcome. You can't control whether someone likes you. You can't control whether that job calls back. You can't force someone to see your worth, but you can control how you show up, how you carry yourself, how aligned you are with your values. That's what real influence is built on. Not external results, but internal consistency. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt more drawn to someone who was calm, mysterious, and didn't seem like they were trying to win you over? Someone who was polite, respectful, but detached? That's not by accident. It's not a game. That person has likely mastered what the Stoics call ataraxia, a state of serene calm, unaffected by praise or blame. That's the energy of someone who has nothing to prove and everything to offer. And here's the paradox. When you stop needing things to happen a certain way, you gain the ability to influence them more powerfully, because your actions come from clarity, not desperation. Your words are measured, not manipulative. Your silence even becomes more powerful, because it's not rooted in fear, it's rooted in self-assurance. People can sense when you're trying to control the outcome, and they can sense when you're not. The latter is always more attractive. So how do you practice this Stoic detachment in real life? Start by reminding yourself daily, what is in my control and what isn't? This simple filter changes everything. You'll stop wasting energy on things you can't change, and start pouring that energy into your mindset, your behavior, your decisions. Next, redefine success. Success isn't always about getting what you want, it's about showing up with character, doing your best, and walking away with your integrity intact. That's a win, no matter how the world responds. Finally, give without keeping score. Love without clinging. Show up without performing. Detachment isn't about becoming distant. It's about becoming fearless. It's about being able to walk away if something doesn't align without it destroying your peace. When you embody that kind of energy, you shift the dynamic in every room you walk into. You stop chasing, you start attracting, and people become obsessed with the one who doesn't need them, but chooses them from a place of strength. That's the third Stoic secret: detach from outcome, and you'll command attention. Not by force, but by becoming the rare presence no one can shake. Secret number 4. Lead yourself, and others will follow. Why do some people naturally become leaders without ever asking for the title? Why do others seem to follow them, watch them, mimic them, even admire them, without any need for persuasion or pressure? The answer lies in one of the most powerful Stoic secrets. True leadership starts with self-leadership. Before you can influence anyone else, you must first command yourself. When your life is directed by internal discipline, rather than external pressure, you become someone people instinctively want to follow. The Stoics didn't seek popularity or fame. They didn't try to impress the crowd. They aimed to live in alignment with their highest values: reason, virtue, wisdom, and courage. And by doing so, they developed a quiet authority that demanded respect. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's Stoic leadership. Not preaching, not demanding, simply becoming the example. And in today's world, that example is more needed than ever. We live in a time where many people are lost, reactive, and ruled by impulse. They scroll through life without direction. So when someone shows up with discipline, with vision, with self-control, they stand out like a lighthouse in the fog. People are drawn to that stability. They want to be around it, to understand it, to learn from it. Not because it's loud, but because it's rare. Self-leadership means you take full responsibility for your actions, your mindset, and your results. You don't blame others. You don't wait to be rescued. You wake up and say, "Today I will lead my thoughts, I will lead my emotions, I will lead my time." And that posture changes everything. Think about it. Would you rather follow someone who complains, reacts emotionally, and avoids hard decisions, or someone who stays composed under pressure, who takes responsibility, and who lives with clarity? When you lead yourself, people feel safer around you. They trust your consistency. They admire your integrity. You become the kind of person they want to be around, not just in crisis, but every day. Because self-leadership is not about control over others. It's about influence through example. But how do you develop that kind of leadership in your own life? The Stoics taught that it begins with controlling your impulses. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Most people are ruled by emotion. They get angry and act. They feel afraid and retreat. They crave approval and compromise their values. But the Stoic trains the mind like a soldier, calm, alert, and disciplined. You don't become a leader by following every emotional wave. You become a leader by mastering your reactions and staying steady. Start by observing your patterns. When do you feel out of control? What triggers you to react rather than respond? Self-awareness is the beginning of self-leadership. If you can see the patterns, you can interrupt them. And once you begin interrupting those unconscious reactions, you take your power back. Another part of self-leadership is living by principles instead of feelings. Feelings change. Some days you feel tired, some days you feel lazy, some days you feel angry. If you let those emotions steer your actions, your life will constantly swerve off course. But if you live by Stoic principles like temperance, courage, justice, and wisdom, you gain direction that doesn't fluctuate. Your behavior becomes consistent, your values become visible, and people notice. They may not say it out loud, but they feel it. In a world where everyone is chasing what feels good, you become the person chasing what is right. And that's real strength. Self-leadership also means doing what is difficult when no one's watching. Anyone can look disciplined for a day on social media. But the real test is how you behave when no one is around. Do you hold yourself accountable? Do you keep promises to yourself? Do you push through discomfort even when no one gives you credit? Because that's where real power is built, in silence, in solitude, in moments of private decision. And the beauty of that kind of discipline is that it compounds. Every small act of self-leadership builds confidence. Every moment you say, "I will rise," even when I don't feel like it, you develop inner authority. And when you carry that authority, people naturally look to you as a guide, even if you never say a word. This kind of leadership also makes you deeply attractive, not just romantically, but socially and professionally. Why? Because people want to feel safe. They want to feel like they're with someone who can handle pressure, who can think clearly, who isn't emotionally volatile. Your discipline becomes their security. Your clarity becomes their compass. It's important to remember that Stoic leadership isn't about perfection. It's about progress and consistency. Even Marcus Aurelius had doubts, failures, and struggles. But he kept returning to the path. He journaled, he reflected. He held himself to a higher standard, not because others demanded it, but because he demanded it of himself. And that's the ultimate Stoic lesson. You don't lead because you want power. You lead because you've discovered something worth standing for, something unshakable, something rooted in virtue. And once you find that foundation, you no longer need to chase influence. Influence begins chasing you. So ask yourself, are you leading your life, or are you being led by your circumstances? Are you making conscious choices, or just reacting to whatever comes your way? The moment you begin leading yourself with discipline, clarity, and courage, you'll notice a shift. People will listen more closely, they'll respect you more deeply, and they'll follow not because you ask them to, but because your example speaks louder than any words ever could. That's the fourth Stoic secret. Lead yourself first, and others will follow, not because you try to lead them, but because you've become someone worth following. Secret number 5. Speak less, influence more. Have you ever been in a room full of people talking, some louder than others? Yet all of a sudden one person says almost nothing and somehow commands the most attention. Why is that? Why does the quiet one, the calm one, the one who only speaks when it truly matters, often have the greatest impact? The answer lies in the fifth Stoic secret. Speak less, influence more. In a world drowning in noise, silence becomes power. In a culture obsessed with sharing every opinion instantly, restraint becomes rare. And what is rare becomes valuable. The Stoics knew this long before social media existed. They believed that true strength is not shown by how much you speak, but by how much you don't need to. As Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen more than we speak." This wasn't just about manners, it was about wisdom. Because when you speak less, you think more. When you listen more, you learn faster. And when you don't rush to fill every silence, your words carry more weight when you finally choose to speak. But how does this make people obsess over you? It's simple. Silence creates mystery. Mystery creates curiosity. And curiosity is the spark that fuels obsession. When you don't reveal everything about yourself immediately, when you hold back, observe, and speak with precision, people become intrigued. They want to know what you're thinking. They lean in, not because you're loud, but because your quiet confidence speaks louder than any words could. This kind of presence is rare. Most people feel the need to constantly explain themselves, defend their opinions, or dominate conversations. But the Stoic does the opposite. The Stoic pauses. The Stoic observes. The Stoic responds only when it adds value. And in that pause, in that restraint, there is immense power. Speaking less also prevents you from giving away your power emotionally. When you're always reacting, always venting, always talking, you make yourself predictable, and predictability weakens influence. But when you control your words, you control your image. You become someone who doesn't waste energy trying to be understood or validated. And that restraint draws people in because they can sense you're not trying to impress them. You're living by your own standard. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you walked away from a conversation and remembered the person who spoke the most? Probably not often, but you do remember the one who said very little. Yet when they did, their words were sharp, meaningful, and true. That's the Stoic ideal. To speak as if every word matters, because it does. And this applies to all areas of life: friendships, relationships, work, even arguments. The Stoic doesn't need to win every debate. They don't need to prove they're right, because they understand something deeper. Truth needs no defense and character needs no advertisement. By saying less, they allow others to reveal more. And that space, that silence, gives them the upper hand, not in manipulation, but in clarity and influence. In relationships especially, this secret is powerful. Many people overshare out of nervousness. They ramble to fill the space. They talk to seek approval. But when you can sit in silence, when you can hold eye contact and say less while staying grounded, you shift the dynamic. You show you're not afraid of quiet moments. You're not afraid of your own thoughts. And that kind of composure is magnetic. But this isn't about being cold or emotionally distant. Speaking less doesn't mean never expressing yourself. It means choosing your words with care. It means learning the value of timing, tone, and truth. It means letting your actions speak first, and allowing your words to support them, not replace them. The Stoics practice this every day. In fact, Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, wrote extensively, but mostly to himself. His famous meditations were never intended for publication. They were reflections, reminders, and personal truths. That's the heart of Stoic communication. Speak when necessary, and when you do, let it come from a place of wisdom, not ego. And here's a truth most people don't realize. The less you speak, the more people listen. Because your silence creates space for others to reflect. It creates a rhythm of presence. And when you do speak, your voice cuts through the noise, not with volume, but with value. So how do you apply this in your life? Start with mindfulness. Before speaking, ask yourself, is this necessary? Is this helpful? Is this aligned with my values? If the answer is no, practice the discipline of silence. Don't feel the need to fill every pause. Let others speak first. Let them reveal themselves. You'll learn more in one silent observation than in a dozen conversations where you were trying to be heard. Practice active listening. Don't listen to reply. Listen to understand. Pay attention not just to words, but to tone, posture, and emotion. People open up more to those who truly listen. And once they feel heard, they're far more likely to respect what you have to say. Also, make your words count. Speak with clarity, with intention, and with truth. Let people feel the depth of your thought, not the volume of your voice. And when you do speak, speak slowly, calmly, and deliberately. That alone will separate you from the crowd. Over time, you'll notice a change. People will start paying more attention to your presence. They'll lean in when you speak. They'll seek your opinion, not because you demand it, but because you've earned it through restraint, clarity, and consistency. This is not about playing mind games or withholding affection. It's about cultivating dignity in how you communicate. It's about honoring your words by not throwing them around carelessly. Because when you treat your words like currency, people recognize their value. So ask yourself, are you talking just to be heard, or are you speaking to make an impact? Are your words serving your growth in your relationships, or are they diluting your power? The fifth Stoic secret is this: speak less, influence more. Let your silence be filled with presence. Let your words carry the weight of discipline, and let your calm restraint be the loudest voice in the room. Secret number 6. Own nothing, and they'll want everything about you. What if the more you try to hold on to something, attention, love, admiration, the more it slips through your fingers? And what if the less you need it, the more it comes to you naturally? This is the final Stoic secret, and it's the most paradoxical of all. Own nothing, and they'll want everything about you. The Stoics believe that true power comes not from how much you possess, but from how lightly you hold the things you have. In a world obsessed with ownership, owning people's time, emotions, loyalty, the Stoic goes the other way. They don't cling, they don't demand. They don't wrap their identity around possessions or relationships, and it's that very detachment that makes them unforgettable. So why does owning less, especially emotionally, make people obsess over you? Because freedom is magnetic. Most people walk through life chained to their desires. They need validation. They need someone to stay. They need to be seen, acknowledged, praised. But when you can move through life without clinging, when you love without attachment, speak without manipulation, and live without dependency, people feel it, and it shocks them. It's rare to find someone who isn't trying to control, someone who can enjoy what they have without being afraid to lose it, someone who can walk away from what no longer serves them, not with bitterness, but with grace. That person becomes powerful. That person becomes a mystery. And mystery becomes obsession. The Stoic doesn't fear loss because they've already made peace with impermanence. As Epictetus said, "You are a little soul carrying around a corpse." It sounds harsh, but it's meant to free you. Everything you think you own, your money, your relationships, your social status, can vanish. And if your identity is wrapped around those things, you will vanish with them. But when you own nothing, when you see everything as temporary, borrowed, fragile, you start to appreciate it more. You start to live with gratitude, not grasping. You love people freely, not desperately. And that energy, that openness, is what makes others feel drawn to you. They don't feel caged. They feel invited. They don't feel manipulated. They feel respected. And that makes them want to be near you even more. This applies powerfully in relationships. Most people confuse love with control. They think, if they're mine, they should act how I want. But the Stoic understands that no one truly belongs to us. Not our partner, not our friends, not even our own children. Love, when rooted in freedom, becomes far more beautiful. When someone knows they can leave, but they choose to stay, that's real connection. And that's the paradox. When you try to control someone, they pull away. But when you let them be free, they often stay, because they feel seen, not suffocated. They feel chosen, not owned. That kind of presence is rare, and rare makes people obsess. But how do you embody this Stoic detachment without becoming cold? It starts with one simple shift. See everything as borrowed. Your health, your time, your relationships. These are gifts, not guarantees. The Stoics practiced this daily. They reminded themselves that even the people they loved most could be gone tomorrow. Not to be pessimistic, but to be present. When you live like everything is temporary, you stop taking things for granted. You become more attentive, more loving, more awake. This mindset doesn't make you distant, it makes you deeper, because you're no longer loving from fear, but from fullness. You're not saying, "I need you to complete me." You're saying, "I'm already whole, and I want to share that wholeness with you." That kind of energy isn't just healthy, it's irresistible. Owning nothing also means you're not addicted to outcomes. If someone doesn't like you, you're okay. If they leave, you're at peace. If a chapter ends, you bow out with dignity. This doesn't mean you don't care. It means you've cultivated a stronger loyalty to your peace, to your values, to your growth. And that strength draws people in. They can feel it in how you speak, how you walk, how you handle loss without falling apart. So ask yourself, what are you clinging to right now? Who or what are you afraid to lose? What would happen if you held it more loosely? Not with indifference, but with grace. Because the more you try to own people or outcomes, the more they slip away. But when you can live without needing to possess anything, you become incredibly free and incredibly attractive. Your energy no longer says, "Please stay." It says you are free to go and free to stay. And that freedom is what makes people want to stay more than ever. This also affects how you show up in life. When you stop trying to win everyone's love or prove your worth, you start living with more authenticity. You dress for yourself. You speak your truth. You take risks. You walk away from what isn't aligned, not to punish anyone, but to protect your peace. That kind of inner strength becomes your silent calling card. Think of the Stoics themselves. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet reminded himself every day that power was temporary. Seneca was one of the wealthiest men in Rome, yet trained himself to live with nothing. Why? Because the less you're owned by your possessions, your emotions, or your desires, the more powerful you become. The less you try to control, the more control you gain. And here's the final truth. When you own nothing, you begin to own yourself. You stop chasing, grasping, clinging, and you begin to live with calm, quiet certainty. Your presence becomes a gift, not a performance. Your love becomes an offering, not a transaction. And your identity becomes rooted in something eternal: virtue, wisdom, and self-respect. People feel that, they crave it. In a world full of insecurity and codependency, you become the rare soul who stands freely, who loves freely, and who lives freely. And that freedom becomes magnetic. It becomes unforgettable. That's the sixth Stoic secret. Own nothing, and they'll want everything about you. Because your freedom, your detachment, and your inner peace are the very things they never knew they were searching for. So now you know the truth. It's not about charm. It's not about trying harder. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't chase, but attracts. Someone who radiates calm in a world addicted to chaos. Someone who walks with purpose while others wander. Someone who listens more, speaks less, leads themselves, and lets go of what they can't control. These 6 Stoic secrets aren't tricks or tactics. They're transformations. They turn you into someone so steady, so focused, so free from neediness that others can't help but take notice. Not because you're trying to be seen, but because your presence demands it. In mastering your thoughts, your reactions, your purpose, and your attachments, you master your influence. And in that mastery, people won't just respect you. They'll remember you. They'll be drawn to you, not for what you say, but for who you are. If today's video opened your eyes or helped you reclaim a piece of yourself, we ask one small thing. Support our channel, Deep Dive Stoic, by subscribing and sharing this message. It helps us reach more souls who are ready to rise above the noise and choose wisdom over chaos. Thank you for being part of this journey. Stay mindful, stay steady, and no matter what the world throws your way, stay stoic.